to start coming. Yeah. So, you want to keep this here?
I can put it down.
No, up to you.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
me,
that's
it's
good.
all right.
That'll be better.
Okay. Are you going to show what is there?
Yes, I'll show them what I did.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon. To all of you who are present here, and good afternoon for those who are watching us online. We are now entering the last session with our dear brother Ricky Kearns, who is Associate Director of Adventist Pioneer Library. Today's presentation, this afternoon presentation, is going to be Mastering the Resources, Studying Adventist History for Yourself. So we are so glad that you're with us, and I know that it was a lunch very, very good. A number of people were still talking there and enjoying the fellowship. Let us begin with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you one more time that you were the one who orchestrated to raise the Adventist movement. And Lord, there are so many things that we can learn from the history. But at the same time, we are the ones who are living now to continue. And I pray, Lord, that this faith of Jesus Christ, who do have absolute trust in us, that we can be transformed by that faith, and that everybody can see Jesus Christ in us, Lord. Thank you for the time that we can spend now here, and give us a zeal that we can continue to study. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Some feedback there. Well, here we are. What a delight to be able to reflect on this, the 14th of October. Remember what happened on the 14th of October in 1840? There was a general conference, and general conference of Millerite believers. But here we are, a general conference of those that are interested in God's work in the Advent movement. And it's only through this work that we're going to be it's understanding how God led us, that we're going to be shown up and strengthened for the crisis that's ahead of us. Well, the pastor asked, are you going to tell us about the things that you have up front over here? I said, yes, I will. So let me start with that. This on the left-hand side over here, the audiovisual guy would be happy to know that there was no audiovisual guy during the Millerite movement. That is your PowerPoint. Hang and preach. That's all that it took. This is not an original Millerite chart, but it is a chart printed in, I think, 1903, that the evangelists used to carry around with them. I was able to procure this one from a gentleman that was selling all the banners that a evangelist would carry with him, with the different kind of taking for instance the image over here and kind of a larger version of that. But this here is, it was innovatively lithographed. It was using the latest technology. Imagine lithographing this in 1903. Quite an incredible, they really spent lots of time and attention to these charts. Who's been to Andrews University, to the vault downstairs? Who's been to the little display downstairs? If you go downstairs at Andrews University, there are kind of beasts that sit on the top of the display, and it's actually paper mache. And these was paper macheed it was commissioned by the same gentleman that commissioned this sheet. So he was a Canadian that was enthusiastic about evangelism and said, we need to use the latest technology to share this message. And this is one of the charts that is used for the evangelist to go around and present. Now, fascinatingly enough, you'll notice that it gives you the different studies in Daniel and then in Revelation. And do you notice that the United States is up on the upper right? The United States in prophecy only came into the fore. We only understood that this was significant, that America was in prophecy starting in 1852. Surprised? We thought that it was always in prophecy, didn't we? No, but in 1852, we had, John Loughborough and J.N. Andrews. J.N. Andrews did a study on the two horns. And in that study on the two horns, he goes back and he says, Josiah Litch in 1848 said, it's yet to be determined who this beast of Revelation 13 is. And then he said, this is the United States as the second beast of Revelation 13. And he said that the two horns is republicanism and Protestantism. That was the entry of United States in prophecy, that he'll have two horns, republicanism and Protestantism. Now, Pastor, when he reached out to Ron and myself, he says, yes, we're interested in liberty of conscience. Yeah? And that is only understood when we understand our history of how the Advent movement came into being and what the primary focus was. Yeah? So coming around again, United States in prophecy we start to pay attention to it in 1852. We know that in 1863 is when the Sunday legislation starts, right? And that is when Adventists really become interested in religious liberty. And it's not until let me get that right. So in 1874, Uriah Smith writes, The United States in Prophecy. And based on that book, we find there was a more focus on the United States in prophecy. Yeah? And still he's saying that it's republicanism, the one horn, and Protestantism as the other horn. So this is a chart that, if you look at the 1843 chart, which is the one that Charles Fitch put together, you won't find American prophecy there. If you look at the 1863 chart, you will start seeing America in prophecy. So this is a sampling of what they had, and as they were preaching on Daniel 8, the speaker would point to it, and then he says, "Okay, now let's understand this more deeper." And then when he sees the people get it, he says, "Okay, let's go down again." So Medo-Persia and Greece, and then so it was a visual aid. That's what we have there. Something that goes back a little further is I have these This is the Advent Herald, Boston and New York, October 21, 1846. So this was reflections that they were kind of processing. This is by Joshua V. Himes. So this is after the disappointment, and this is when they started to reject that Christ entered the most holy place of the sanctuary. So this is the Advent Herald. Remember the Advent Herald? So when you hear review and herald, that was started in 1850 by James White. Ellen White says you need to start a little paper and it'll go like the leaves of autumn. Yeah, it was first called the Adventist Review, which is what we're doing right now. This weekend was about the Adventist Review. We were reviewing how God brought us to the teaching of the Advent. And the Sabbath Herald. That was to show how prominent the Sabbath was in God's scheme of things. That He created us on the sixth day, and we entered into a complete work at creation. And on the cross, on the sixth day, He said, "It is finished." What is finished? Our salvation is finished. And so this is the Sabbath showing it's the supreme care for God as our creator and sustainer is what the Sabbath Herald was. So it was the Review and Sabbath Herald. So that started in 1850 going on. So this is not part of the Adventist story as such, because Joshua Himes parted company with Adventism. Indeed, he influenced William Miller not to join with the Advent believers because he said, oh, the Sabbath, the sanctuary, that's too Jewish. The Sabbath, that's too Jewish. And that swayed William Miller's thinking. There's a fascinating dream that William Miller had in 1837. Could have been as early as 1827. So William Miller had a dream, and he was going on this journey, and this journey wasn't it wasn't going directly north and wasn't going directly south, but it was going on a circuitous route. It was going through difficult kind of circumstances and a different route. And a brother Turner interprets this in the Sabbath Review, Advent Review and Sabbath Herald in 1855. And he now looks back and he says, oh, I see now who that person is. Somebody tried to get William Miller off of the way. That was Joshua Himes after the disappointment. Enough to say that their cases with God, we don't know where they'll end up. Yes, it's in God's hands. But the lesson is this. The Bible says, to him, to her that thinketh they standeth, take heed, lest he fall. So that is what we have there. This is the Advent Herald. Some more show and tell here. This is the midnight cry. And this is the midnight cry. Two different iterations of the midnight cry, but I'll tell you the significance of those two and what happened right there. Here is another version of the midnight cry, and this is October 11, 1844. Okay? This is October 11, 1844. In here is depicted the story of Charles Fitch's death. So Charles Fitch, remember the gentleman that baptized all those folk, and then he got pneumonia and he died? In here is the relationship, or the relating of that story. So it's very, very tender and very kind of current to the time. I have a few more. These are all kind of, this is September 26. This is October 11. So there's 2 weeks between there. And this is November 28, and this is December 12. So that's before, this is after. But in the middle over here, are these two. So these two are in the middle over here. So that's why I didn't give you the dates, remember? I didn't give you the dates. This is October 19, and this is October 31. So I am in between the second and the third angel's message in those 2 dates. Very significant. And we just solemnly look at what the expectation was over here and what the disappointment was over here. Yes? But these are stones crying out, saying, take heed. These are landmarks. These are landmarks that we need to follow. That is as far as the show and tell goes. These are the easiest to transport. There is a whole lot that could have been brought, but I think these are the salient ones. These are the kind of the keystone, parts of our story. And it's great to have the originals. It's like Joshua Himes actually worked on this edition. It's like quite sobering, and to have William Miller's book. William Miller was instrumental in maybe picking up these books from the printer. So that's the story on our show and tell. So I'll put that to the side here. I showed this morning, but this is the concordance that William Miller, probably one close to this. This was 1843, so this is not exactly the one he used. He used the 1818 version. And this is a Bible similar to one that he used. And so this is another inexpensive way and safe way to transport the things that we have in our care. Young people, who has heard about the story of Joseph Bates? You have heard of the story of Joseph Bates. Joseph Bates there's a series of books that he wrote. Actually, there's a series of books that he wrote. This one is the most interesting, especially for young people. The autobiography of Joseph Bates. It tells of his journey in the army and in the Navy, rather, where he fought as a soldier. And it tells how he was a prisoner with the English. The English held him for prisoner at Dartmouth prison, and how he escaped. Amazing story. It also tells of his trip down to Brazil. Anybody from Brazil over here? No? It tells about his trip to Brazil. Anybody want to? This is Uriah Smith, and he wrote the book Daniel in Revelation and also the United States in Prophecy. Daniel in Revelation, we've reprinted that one in both English and Spanish and Portuguese, and we are looking to get his book United States in Prophecy out as well. So that is Uriah Smith. Now, when God sends a man, there's always a tax on the man, right? And so the first book of defense against William Miller was written by Joshua Himes. It's a very interesting book that Joshua Himes writes a character analysis of William Miller. And it is just a tremendous, it's just an incredible review of his life and the challenges that he faced. We also have a book on William Miller, not by Joshua Himes, but by Sylvester Bliss. A few more here. These are the books that we have in the collection. It's kind of two iterations of it. That's William Miller's 1836 book, the book that William Miller wrote. This is his 1838 one. That's the one that I have back there. This is his 1840 one. This is where Joshua Himes started to be involved in printing. 1841 and 1842. Those are the books by William Miller himself. And John Loughborough, he was there from the beginning, and so John Loughborough was with the movement from the beginning. And in 1905, Kellogg was pulling the church away, pulling the medical work away from the church. And people were being swept up by his teaching. And Ellen White said, we need somebody to write a story about our history. And so she turned to John Loughborough. And John Loughborough was the one to pen the first history book on Adventism in light of a challenge, in light of a crisis, in light of the Kellogg crisis. And so it's important for us to know that. And she said every Adventist, especially every new Adventist, needs to read his book. And the book is, I think I've got it right over here. This is the original here. The Great Second Advent Movement. The Great Second Advent Movement. She said every Adventist needs to read that book. And this is our republishing of that book. The Great Second Advent Movement. It is a must read. And then this is the book in Spanish. So we have it in English and Spanish as well, because we are going to need to have the story before us. Well, in 1848, the Sabbath came to us, didn't it? And God raised up a young man by the name of J.N. Andrews to be our scholar. And so J.N. Andrews wrote The History of the Sabbath. The History of the Sabbath, showing the Bible record of the Sabbath, also the manner in which it has been supplanted by the heathen festival of the sun. So this is the history of the Sabbath by J.N. Andrews. A book on, so this is what the autobiography of Joseph Bates looks like. And J.N. Andrews also wrote a complete testimony of the fathers of the first 3 centuries concerning the Sabbath and the first day. So this gives the church fathers' view of the Sabbath, and he shows it just in a tremendous comparative way. That's J.N. Andrews. S.N. Haskell, who's not quite a pioneer, but he wrote this amazing book on the story of Daniel the prophet. My daughter, who is a teacher in our Adventist school up in Wenatchee, is wanting to use this for her study of Daniel and Revelation. She made a good choice. It'll strengthen those young people there. And I'm wanting to just transition to this. I didn't know this, but the first book that was printed by our presses by A.T. Jones was a book that he combined with one of the pioneers' writings. 1887, before Minneapolis, A.T. Jones, he has this book reprinted. It's called Sacred Chronology. Sacred Chronology was God's leading in the Old Testament by Sylvester Bliss. And Jones appends a study on Genesis 11 to that. So Sacred Chronology was the first book of that Jones wrote. And here's the significance. Jones's first book that was written was actually on prophecy. I think that's important to know, because not only was it helpful for him, I think it also kind of guided his thinking when it came to understanding liberty of conscience. And there is a series here. This is on liberty of conscience. Liberty of conscience. This one here is, it's wonderful to have Ellen White's view on things, especially on the life sketches. There's a life sketches that Ellen White, and there's William, not William, but James White also wrote sketches on their life together. But this is a book that we've just printed, and this is Sketches and Memories of James and Ellen White by Willie White. So this tells the story of the Advent movement and his mom and dad, their involvement in it from his point of view. It's taken from articles that we got in 1934. So that's on history as well. There is The Cross and Its Shadow. Ever heard of this book? The Cross and Its Shadow by S.N. Haskell. This is the book on the sanctuary. The cross, the reality, the sanctuary is the shadow. And so to show how the shadow pointed to the cross, it's a beautiful book for you to read and be encouraged by. And I'm wanting to share these maybe three last ones. Lessons on Faith. Apparently there's a study happening using lessons on faith. Anybody, is there anybody here that's studying it with a pastor or lessons on faith? It's not exactly this cover, it might be a different cover. Yeah? This is a beautiful one. There's one chapter in here. There's a whole lot of chapters in here that I really appreciate. Lessons on faith. If there's one thing that we need to cultivate, it's how to cultivate, how to grow faith. Yes. So there is think global, act local. 2, Chicago. 2 books. One was first presented in Chicago. The other one is the story of the work in Chicago, not necessarily along ministerial lines, but along medical lines. This book is The Footprints of Faith by David Paulson. David Paulson was involved in the founding of Hinsdale Hospital. If you read this book, you'll be just amazed at God's leading in how God founded Hinsdale Hospital. It was largely gifted with a large, it was actually, the owner was so impressed to have it here, he gifted it at a very low fee to Paulson. And this tells about the city work here in Chicago. And if you are involved in city work, the experiences over here will absolutely thrill you. So this is Footprints of Faith. And now, in 1888, Jones was at Minneapolis. What happened there is just recently been discovered in that he presented lectures on liberty of conscience or religious liberty. It was so important to the delegates at Minneapolis that there was a vote taken that Jones needed to write out a book, and that book needs to come out soon, and also that Jones and 2 other people need to go into the cities and to share the truth of liberty of conscience. A third thing was decided, that Jones needs to go to Washington to defend against the Blair Bill. Those 3 things were decided in at Minneapolis. How does it relate to Chicago? So this is 1888, October 1888. In March of 1889, this book was published. Civil Government and Religion. Civil Government and Religion. And just the frontispiece, the frontispiece, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says, this little work is the outgrowth of several lectures upon the relationship between religion and civil power, delivered in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in October 1888. This is printed February 13, 1889. And the original was actually printed here in Chicago. And he came into town, and him and Ellen White did a series of meetings here in Chicago. And there was a wonderful revival in Chicago following the presentations by A.T. Jones and Ellen White. And there was a poem written. There was a poem written by Fanny Bolton. She wrote about the preacher's difficulty in getting through to the people, and how this preacher went before God, and he prayed that God will do something mightily. And by the end of the week, hearts were warmed, hearts were won. That was what happened when the gospel was married to the preaching of liberty of conscience. I think that time has come again. And this is a marvelous, tremendous resource to understand what is the place of civil government and what is the place of religion. Especially now with what's happening in Israel. What should America's role be? We should be speaking to these things from a biblical point of view, from a prophetic point of view. And I'm saying that the principles are here for us to acquaint ourselves with them. So this is civil government and religion. Since this is a build-up to a religious liberty weekend, sometime in the future, the rights of the people. This is an expansion of this book, showing the foundation of what America was founded on, and therefore what to defend and what not to defend. Did I say that both of them by A.T. Jones? I didn't. Another book that he wrote, Due Process of Law and the Divine Right of Dissent. Due process of law and the divine right of dissent. Here's one that is present truth, if ever. Yeah, it is Christian patriotism. What is Christian patriotism? What is true Christian patriotism? And what is false Christian patriotism? A.T. Jones. I've out-Jonesed the resources. No, I have not, actually. I've saved the... So I'd be intrigued to know who's heard about this one. The Two Republics. Anybody heard about it? Yes? So the Two Republics shows, yes, it shows Rome as the first republic and the United States as the second republic, and how Rome lost the republicanism, in other words, what a republic stands for, the principles of a republic, and how America embraced it and how she will lose it. A personal story, well, not quite a personal story, but I come from Walla Walla, and A.T. Jones was baptized in Walla Walla in 1875. And he came into town, and he was stationed in Walla Walla, and a lady by the name of Augusta Morehouse, she was an Adventist for, at that point, almost 15 years. Yeah? She wrote to the review, I found in the articles, please send us a preacher. They sent a preacher, Isaac Van Horn. Isaac Van Horn comes into town. He has this camp meeting, and there are already 17 Adventists already, but he has got this, not this camp meeting, but this tent meeting, and 6 people are baptized. And Isaac Van Horn's wife, she says, and the last one to come was a soldier from the garrison. He came down into the water. The preacher put him down into the water and brought him up. And he said, dead to the world and alive to thee, O my God. Well, Adele Van Horn, in 1891, which is like 15 years after he was baptized, receives the 2 republics, not this one, but a leather-bound one with beautiful gold gilding, and on the inside is this wonderful letter, little note to him, to Adele Van Horn, from one to whom kind and encouraging words were spoken to a dispirited young Christian. I present you with this volume. December 3, 1891, Battle Creek. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Can't you just see that young pastor's wife grabbing the soldier, and during his disquieted and dispirited hour, says to him, no, you don't have to give up on history. You don't. Keep at it. Keep at it. And it's almost like in reply to that, he hands her this beautiful copy of the 2 republics. And this is not the only book that he wrote on history. He wrote 2 others. He wrote The Empires of Bible Prophecy and Ecclesiastical Empires. And here is Ecclesiastical Empires. And that, if anything, it'll keep you busy for quite a while. So God gifted these men and women to write about these things. And now that we have time, we need to avail ourselves of what they've written, because they know the principles on which we were established, and they know what to look out for. And so it's with delight that we can make them available again. What kind of time are we looking at? Yeah? 2:40. Okay. Good. So those are for these times. Let me just relate a little personal happening about 3 months ago. We got an email from Amazon. Our books are Amazon print on demand. They said to us, your account has been closed because of unwarranted, unauthorized access. My friend and I he's in Brazil and I'm here. Is there any activity on the account that we haven't authorized? Oh no. All the access has been authorized. But we found that was a wake-up call to us to say, you know what, we've experienced in the last 4 years, Facebook taking people off, Twitter taking people off, YouTube taking people off. Just 2 weeks ago, Amazon said, if you're talking about COVID and remedial things for COVID, you are not allowed to use our platform. So it's coming sooner rather than later that these resources won't be as readily available. I'm not saying that they won't be available. they won't be as readily available. So those are the resources that we have. The presentations that I've been gleaning from mostly, or that I've been preparing, has been gleaned from this book. This is Lest We Forget. And this gives you the caveat on the different pioneers, and the one, and the other, the one that I relied on heavily was also the Great Second Advent movement. So those are the resources that are available, that I'll leave over here, and we'll make arrangements to see how we can get your orders in and get them to you. But do you find that you have access to the Adventist Pioneer writings? Did you know that your phone has you have access to the Adventist writings on your phone? That you can search through the Adventist writings on your phone. Excuse me? I'm with that man, that I like paper as well. It's just a little cumbersome on the phone. But sometimes you hear a reference, or somebody says, I heard that this person said this. How is that true? And then it would be nice to have access to that. So I won't have I just wanted to share some of the resources. So a good place to have access to the Adventist, to Ellen White writings, is egwhitewritings.org. Have you ever been to that? It looks a little different. It looks like that right now. And what's nice about it is that you can log in there, and you can search for terms up there. You can, let's see. So there's a place to search, and so you can go through all the collections. But in the Adventist, I chose a language that I should have changed it here. You see it in Afrikaans. Oh, no, it's in English. Good. So there's all collections, English, and here's the Adventist Pioneer. Get a little bigger there. There's a little better there. So the Adventist Pioneer Library is available for free, to access it for free online. You can also do it on your phone. Oops. Yeah. So you can also do it on your phone. There we go. So you can log in. You can use Android apps. Nobody uses BlackBerry anymore. iPhone. You can look at it on your Kindle, and also on these are the different platforms. What I like about it is that you can synchronize your searches if you log in both on your phone and on your desktop, so that your searches, you don't have to say, and you save something, you can have access to it in both places. Those are just the different platforms. And going through that again. So that's what's available to us. So this is where you can find the resources from the Adventist Pioneer Library. So if you go to aplib.org, you can have access to the Adventist Pioneer writings, and I just want to show you here. That's what it looks like there. John Bradshaw's doing a encouraging promo for us there. There is a resource page here, resources. There's audiobooks, there's ebooks, there's Adventist Pioneer videos. And you can watch videos on William Miller, Joseph Bates, giving in much more details than I was able to cover this week. And it's by my good friend and friend of who's now sleeping and resting in Jesus, Fred Bischoff. And it's just a wonderful teaching. And that is videos, okay? Let's go to ebooks. So here you can download PDFs of the writings and have it available that way. Those are all the books by J.N. Andrews, Joseph Bates, Bordeaux, Butler, Cornell, Cottrell, and look at A.T. Jones. Here's A.T. Jones. It starts there, and it goes, and it goes, and it goes. And then Josiah Litch, John Loughborough, P.T. McGann. Little plug right here. So in 1899, P.T. McGann, who started Andrews University, read the Two Republics, and he says, wow, that's amazing. So 1891, when the book was written, right? So 1899 is when he puts out this book. And here he says America is becoming an empire based on moving away from the Constitution. The Brethren didn't like that, and they decided, no, we won't publish it. So Revel Publishers published it. I think here in Chicago, wasn't Revel Publishers here in Chicago? So Revel Publishers published it. The Peril of the Republic. This is an absolute must read for those who are interested in looking at liberty of conscience in a broader sense. So there's the Peril of the Republic is right there. You can read that over there as well. So what's the website? aplib.org is the website. And then the audiobooks. I left this for now because somebody was telling me that he spends a whole lot of time in his car. Yeah? We don't have an app yet, but you can actually listen to high-quality recordings of there's ecclesiastical empires. And so you just, I don't think it's going to play over. Yeah, because it's not an HDMI connection, it won't play over there. But free of charge, you can listen to all of these resources. It comes to you absolutely free. There's Jones. Did I talk about Footprints of Faith? Yes, I did. And you can even listen to Footprints of Faith over here, encouraging to talk about medical missionary work here in the Chicago area. Those are two sources that to use when you on your phone. Now, when it comes to research, how many of you are PC-based? 1, 2, okay, 3. And how many of you are Mac-based? Okay, good. So let me deal with the PC guys first. What I use for my personal computing needs, at least, what I found to be very helpful is something called Caliber, a high caliber. So Caliber is a wonderful kind of organizing of my resources. Yeah. So these are all my digital resources. Yeah. And what I do is I spend quite of my time. I like to get the electronic versions of the books too because it's easier to search through. So I've brought them all into a folder in Caliber. And what's nice about Caliber, it's free. So you can just Google Caliber, and you can download the. It's not a shareware, so you can make a donation to them, and then. And what's really nice is then there is a full text search over here. So I did a search for the faith of Jesus, and look at there. It brought up, lest we forget, as the first occurrence of the faith of Jesus. And so you can go through and see these are the search options. So there's one over there, and then it just gives you the different books and where to find it. So that's really nice if you're searching for a specific term. Yeah. So for those of us who are PC based, Caliber is a good resource to use. That's Caliber. There's some other features, but this is not a Caliber seminar. It's just to make you more be able to access these amazing resources more quickly, and that is Caliber. I just came across this software here. And this here is called Divan Think 3. Divan Think 3. So Divan Think, let me make that bigger. It's kind of. Divan Think 3. Yeah. And what's incredible about this is that I've a friend, at least somebody that I got to know, he downloaded the entire Adventist archive and he put it on a Google Drive site. And he said, "Have at it." And I had at it, and it's still open. So what I've done is I've downloaded. I'll show you the sampling over here. Just going down over here. I'll make it a little bigger. It's kind of, let me do this. Yeah. Let me do this. And then I will move this slightly this way here. And then I'll expand this here. Okay. So here is the open database that I have for the Adventist Pioneers, at least for the Adventist works. This includes books, even though it shows 11, there's many more than 11. Those are just new books that I've downloaded. There's Ellen White books. There's high resolution pics that I have, and there are journals. These are like all the journals that they've kind of digitized. Of course, this is a little overkill, you know. But here's periodicals. These are many of the periodicals, I mean, most of them. There's the Adventist Review, and if you come down here is the Millerite. There's Millerite magazines. So you can actually search these things quite extensively. And so all that I do is you just come here and you search whatever Elmhurst. I mean, this is what you wish, yeah. No, sorry, I'm on the Mac already. Yeah, so let me just, so what I was using for Calibre is both for PC and for Windows. So you could use either, but if you are Windows only, Calibre is your only option. If you are Mac and PC, you've got Calibre and you also have Devon Think. Yeah? Does that clarify things a little? And so with Elmhurst Church, that's in Oakland, so let's do Elmhurst, Illinois. And so what it'll do, it'll bring up 2 persons who were baptized recently at Elmhurst, Illinois church. First were introduced to the Adventist church when they participate in a vegetarian cooking school offered by the New Earth restaurant in Wheaton. Anybody hear about that or remember that? Yeah? See. So the power of this is that you can relate to the history of the place. You know, that there was an evangelistic series over here in '87 was because I had access to this. I just looked it up, and that was one of the significant journeys in this church's life. But the use of this is quite broad, but I'm wanting for those of you who are serious researchers, I would strongly encourage you to access these resources and be a blessing to God's people in any way that you can. And so I have covered quite a bit. I do want to leave some question and answer time and not weary out the saints too much. So are there any questions? I will repeat it.
At this point, we would like to our online audience to say goodbye. And I hope that you're going to join us next week for our regular service. Thank you, and I would like publicly for the online audience to thank you, Ricky, for being with us, for blessing us.
Thank you so much.
Adventist Heritage.